How's it going, everybody? It is me, Mr. Drake. I want to make you a bet. I bet if you were to go out and speak to 100 random people and ask them if they wanted more from their life, regardless of their age, gender, income level, race, and any other background, they will almost all say yes. Now, it might be that they want more from their career or their friendships, relationships, even their physical health, and many other things. But today's video, we're going to focus on people who want more from their finances. Just like any other bad relationship, a bad relationship with money can result in fear, stress, anxiety, and even feelings of guilt and feeling overwhelmed. But like any other relationship, in order to get more from it, you need to be willing to put more energy and time into the relationship. That brings us to the first step in bettering our relationship with money, which is to acknowledge that it is only within your power to fix your relationship with money. And to do that, we're going to use one of the only abilities that almost every human around the world has. And that's the ability to make choices. And if you chose to watch this video this far, thank you. For those of us who want a better relationship with money, we need to make sure we're making choices that move us towards that goal and avoid making choices that take us off track. But it's difficult to do this because we make most of our choices every day without actually thinking about them. This means that we need to be more consciously aware of the choices we're making. A couple of really good ways to do that are using things like a cash envelope system where you ration out your money, so you have to be more aware of the choices you make. A second one would be keeping your receipts and evaluating at the end of the week or at the end of the month. Also, bank statements are great for that. And there are also apps that you can use to budget and set out monthly or weekly planners for what you intend to spend on. And that way you're holding yourself accountable to your choices. However, being aware of your choices is not the whole process. It's only a small part of it. Once you're consciously aware of the choices you're making, you need to know whether the choices that you're making are right or wrong based on your particular circumstances and your goals. But how are we ever supposed to know what the right and wrong decisions are? Well, let me explain to you. When a blind person walks with a white cane, they are using that cane to feel for obstructions and obstacles in their path. Because we can't see our choices and our thoughts, we have to do something very similar using our emotions as guidance. When we make choices, we tend to make choices that make us feel good at the time of making them, especially if we're making choices that we don't really pay much attention to. For example, it's Friday evening, you've had a really long, stressful week at work, and you've got the option of either A, ordering your favourite takeout, B, cooking at home and dealing with all the washing up later. Most people will lean towards takeout, because they've had a long, stressful week, they just want to unwind and relax. But let's add some extra context and say that you've got £25 left to last the next 2 weeks until payday. Now that we've changed that context, the emotional response of some of you may be different and you'll lean towards the other option. This is where it gets complicated and budgets get ripped up and thrown out the window. Because do we choose with our heart or do we choose with our budget? My hope and my aim in this video is to help you make choices with your heart and your budget working together. So having a look online, I found a few very common, very popular goal setting methods. The first one, and probably the most popular one, is SMART goal setting. That is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time frame. Yawn. Vision boards, exciting and motivating, easy to get carried away with, but difficult to track and little to no planning. OKRs, objective and key results. Great for tracking and destination, but unmotivating and frankly very boring. Now don't get me wrong, each of these goal setting methods can work wonders in many areas of your life, but for some reason money just isn't one of them, because the money has less emotional attachment to it than the goods that you can buy with the money. Now, I'm not here to say that this is the perfect goal setting strategy that will work for everyone. It worked for me, even though I didn't know I was doing it at the time. And I know that it will work for other people, and that's exactly who I'm making it for. I'm making it for you, the person who is struggling under a really tight budget, suffocating and hating the fact that you want more for your future because it means that you're missing out now. Or you, the person with some wonderful, incredible goals, but you're so intimidated by them because there's so many things that you want to achieve and you don't know how you'll do them all. Or you, the person who is this close to achieving one of the greatest goals that you'll ever have achieved. Maybe it's paying off all of your debts or buying your first home, and you're so close to completing that goal and the excitement and the energy within you is what's pushing you through and getting you to the finish line, and then what? Are you ready for this? Let's go. Ask yourself, what is the process of thinking? In fact, that was a trick question. The process of thinking is in fact you asking yourself a question and then coming up with the answer. So to use that as an example, you would have gone, what is the process of thinking? And your brain would have come up with whatever answer it thinks is right, or multiple answers that it thinks could be right, or it would have just gone, I don't know. When we start to change the questions that we ask ourselves, we change the way we think. When setting goals, we need to use as many emotive questions as possible because they're going to help us get emotionally attached to our goals. Once we're emotionally attached to the goal, it will influence the choices we make far more than any numbers or letters written down on a bit of paper. While it would be possible to answer these next few questions in a matter of minutes and move on to the next thing, I strongly suggest that you write the questions down, write down your initial answers, and then spend the next few weeks considering new answers and comparing those new answers against the answers you already have. It will make sense when you hear the questions, but I spend a couple of hours most days considering my answers even 2.5 years later. The first question that you want to ask is, what are the 10 things that I enjoy doing most? These are the 10 things that give your day in your life a bit more meaning. If you think of a new answer that you want to put into that 10, one of them has to drop out. The second question that you want to ask yourself is, what are the 3 things that I need to feel fulfilled in my work? Now you can see my top 3 here. It's not in a power ranking, so it's not most to least important of the 3. And again, if you think of a new answer, it needs to come in place of something else. So you've got a top 3. It can't be a top 4 or a top 2. We are now into the goal setting questions. And the first of those is, what are the 2 most important goals that I must achieve in the next 2 years? These are our short-term goals, and you may have a dozen incredible goals that you want to achieve, but you've got to narrow that list down. We're looking for 2. You can have 1 if you want as well. For me, this is my holiday to New York with my partner. New York is always a city that I've kind of dreamed about going to. I used to love Friends as a kid. I even had like a little plan that I'd written out where me and a few friends were going to move out to New York. We were going to rent out a couple of flats opposite each other and live out that life. I've always dreamed of going to New York City. And while we're there, I'm going to watch the New York Jets, which is my favorite American football team, play their kind of inner city rival, the New York Giants. It happens once every 4 years, and I'm really excited to go because everything kind of lined up perfectly here. My second goal is paying off my car finance. The car finance is the last kind of piece of rubbish left to be cleared out from the financial decisions I made a few years ago. And it's kind of the clearing of the old, ready for the new. It's not the best financial decision I could make, but I want to be clear of it so that I can focus on my future and not feel held back by past decisions. So these are 2 really big goals for me that I'm very excited about achieving. One of them is happening this month and the other one happens in November. Question number 4 is, what are your 2 most important goals that you must achieve in the next 2 to 7 years? For me, my medium-term goal is to get a deposit for my first home. Question number 5 is, what is the most important goal that you must achieve in 7 or more years' time? This is your vision for the future. It could be anything from completing a master's or a PhD to owning your local football team. For me, it's achieving semi-retirement by the age of 40 so that I can spend more time with my family. I will use passive income to recoup the losses from working less hours. I place family as a priority over everything else. So when I have one of my own, I want to be able to spend as much time with them as I can, which is why I'm going to work now so that I can achieve that in the future. I have huge backstories around each one of my goals, and I build them up every single day so that I can almost feel them as a real thing. It's worth noting that each of these questions uses the word must, not like or want or should. I would like to drive a sports car around a racetrack, but compared to my other goals, it's just not important enough. So it's not going to get done. It might be in the future that driving a supercar around the Nürburgring becomes a must for me, and at that point, it will get done. Here's a fact of life. Life moves fast. The things that are important to you today may not mean anything by tomorrow. I've already shown you don't need to have 5 goals. I have 4 at the moment, so I have room to add 1 more. 2 of them are short term, and 1 of them completes this month. So by the end of this month, I'll only have 3 goals. But let's say you had 5 goals and something unexpected was to pop up. For example, let's say I had 5 goals. We got New York, we got the car, we got the house deposit, and let's say a wedding, okay, and my long-term goal. And all of a sudden a family member was to fall ill, and I take it upon myself to take time off work to care for them as best I can. I'm not going to be able to achieve all of my goals with reduced working hours. So that new priority has to come at the cost of something else. So there's a couple of ways that this could be done. I could remove one of my short-term goals and say, do you know what? Forget New York, that's off the table for now, and caring for the family member becomes a new priority in the short term. It could also be that a medium-term goal gets knocked to the side and one of your short-term goals gets postponed. So I could go, do you know what? The house deposit can go on ice. We'll leave that, forget about that for now, and we'll pay for the car finance in a couple of years. So now we've postponed one of the short-term goals to a medium-term goal, and we've put the medium-term goal to the side. There are a couple of the options away around it. What we don't want to do is try and force in a 6th must. It's really important that we focus our time, money, and emotional attention on 5 key goals. Anything more than that and you're spread too thin and none of them get done. No, not at all. Your goals could be anything from educational to a change of career to improving your physical health, even achieving sporting achievements. But it's important to recognize the opportunity cost of most goals will be either time or money. So let's say, for example, you want to complete a master's degree. You may have to reduce your income in order to achieve that by taking a part-time job that fits around your course. Or it might be that you want to improve your physical health, but you have to pay the gym membership, which will have a financial cost each month. It's important to realize that the currency used to achieve most of our goals is time and/or money. This one is the most important one that you can face, because ultimately, if your lifestyle doesn't accommodate your must-have goals, you need to change your lifestyle. For example, if I wanted rock-hard abs, I would have to train regularly to achieve it. But at the moment, I work a lot of overtime and I'm involved in a lot of other projects that mean I wouldn't have the time to achieve that goal. So I would have to change my lifestyle so I could train more frequently. In my personal example, I work 15 or more hours a week overtime, but if I wanted to just work my base salary, show up at 8 AM, finish at 2, not do my day off, I'd earn about 140 or 150 pounds less per week, and I wouldn't be able to afford any of my top 4 goals. My overtime is what fuels them. So I had to make that lifestyle change now in order to fuel the goals that I'm working towards. If you're not in a position where you can work more overtime, you can always find 101 other ways of creating income on this online economy. A couple of examples would be match betting, starting a TaskRabbit account and becoming a cleaner or a gardener, or setting up a Fiverr account if you're creative. You could also, if you live in a metropolis or a major city, you can advertise on your car and get paid to advertise on your car and just drive around. You get paid to just go to work and come back. There's a million and one ways that you can create more income in this modern online economy, but when the why is important enough, the how becomes easy. Hell yes, you need to plan, but that's phase 2, and we're going to get to that in the next video next week, because this week we want to focus our attention on those top 5 must-have goals. The most important things to you. What do you prioritize above everything else? Get those top 5 goals written down. Top 2 short term, top 2 medium term, most important long term goal. Write them down and then compare them to new answers that you think of during the week. I'll see you next week. Until then, stay cash flow strong, turn your wages into wealth. See you later.